Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back after a small break through no choice of my own. My SSD decided to fry up and yeah, that was something. Thankfully I didn't lose any important files, it was just the SSD dedicated to games, so I needed a few days just to make sure that I didn't leave any important files and there was going to be a problem. But we're back, we're going to talk about Total War, and today I want to talk about some stuff that Creative Assembly could do to secure the future of the game. This could be some quality of life stuff, general communication, and just some other things here and there. There's no specific order to this, it's more just talking about stuff that I feel could really improve the title and make it last as long as it needs to. Because while there are rumors that this game is reaching its zenith, we're reaching the end, last few DLCs, and all that type of stuff, I honestly would like to keep things positive here, mostly because, yeah, you never know. Things could change, the leaks could be proven wrong, or Creative Assembly could just pull a 180, which has happened before. And I'd like to see this game getting supported pretty much as it has to, because it's nowhere near done just yet. Not only that, but these are ideas that Creative Assembly could take forward into future titles, which I think is very important that Creative Assembly learn from their past mistakes. And we're going to start off with one that I know you guys aren't going to feel is most important, but oh my god, siege maps. Now, I'm not going to talk about the need of a siege rework, because, let's be honest, Creative Assembly are aware and they have to fix stuff up, but siege maps are definitely a massive issue here because there's absolutely no variety. And when I mean no variety, I mean holy crap, there's some races and factions that only have like 2 maps. This has become a massive problem when you're attacking Bretonnia, for example, and you're just dealing with the same map over and over again. Variety is the spice of life, of course, and when you're dealing with the same maps over and over, it decentivizes you from actually playing the sieges. Not that the sieges are great right now, but they're definitely a lot better since their last update than they have been since the launch of the game. Let me give you an example. I've recently been playing a modded Norska campaign. Nothing too big, just a few units here and there just to kind of fix up Norska, and I've been pushing into Bretonnia because I was playing as Wolfric, and I figured that would be a great place to go. Mostly because I already owned most of Kislev and I was pushing in with some other armies into the Empire, but having to deal with the same maps over and over, which, yeah, I mean, is still there with Norska and is also still there with the Empire, it's just more noticeable with Bretonnia, became an absolute frustration, to the point that I put the campaign to rest. Many races have maybe 2, 3 minor settlements, some of them have a few more, and the same thing with the major settlements where they have sometimes even 1 or 2. If Creative Assembly want to incentivize more battles, they need to create more for the races, especially when they're getting some sort of DLC or update attached to them. What you guys might not be aware of is slowly but surely Creative Assembly have been adding in new battle maps. Like Thrones of Decay added in a bunch of the Chaos Coast, I believe, and that's all well and good, but it's very, very specific and you might not even see them. Even then, most of those maps are, well, just reskins. Literally just asset flips and that's it. There's a massive lack of new maps. Considering all the time that they've spent on this game and the amount that people are asking for, why are we not seeing new ones coming in to make the battles less soul-sucking? Next is something minor because it's already being done, but proper Confederation mechanics. Yes, this has been added in since pretty much the Champions of Chaos, I believe, where the Warriors of Chaos have access to it, but you can't revive a faction, thus not get their lord, and if memory serves, I believe only Archaon and Be'lakor can confederate, which is a bit of a shame. I mean, it makes a lot of sense thematically, but in the future, if we do end up with more Warriors of Chaos stuff, it would be nice if all the Slaanesh mono Warriors of Chaos characters could confederate, for example, you know, having Azazel being able to pick up Sigvald. Or one thing I've seen the community ask for is having the mono gods being able to confederate the mono warriors. So this means, yeah, being able to pick up Festus as a Nurgle faction, which kind of would be cool. It's doable, we've seen mods be able to do that, so it would be nice to see that being done in vanilla. Not everyone uses mods. Very recently, they've started adding it in again. The only big issue is it's being very, very slow to implement. I don't think that the stuff in Shadows of Change ever implemented anything like this, and yeah, only for the dwarves. Were the Empire more popular, it would have been better to actually do the Empire alongside the dwarfs. Don't get me wrong, this isn't something that needs to be done right now, but a lot of people like playing Pokemon because a lot of those lords are very fun, and we're ending up with so many different lords for all the races. It would be great to have that. And it would be great if we had that all completed before the end of this game. There's obviously been some rumors that there's only like 4 or 5 DLCs left, and we don't know how true they are, considering that Creative Assembly like to stick their heads in the ground, like an ostrich for some reason. But if anyone from Creative Assembly is listening, which usually you do watch my videos, yeah, this is something that needs to be done before the game actually ends. Next would be more communication in regards to updates. Well, communication and better could be better, because Creative Assembly keeps saying, oh yeah, you know, there's going to be more communication, and then there's not. And then, yeah, there's going to be more communication, we promise. But no. One big issue with Creative Assembly is that they fix up random stuff, but they're not fixing up the big problems. Recently, there's been a massive issue that is more widely known, which is the whole issue with Black Arcs, spamming and so on, making your turn times take a long time. Well, that's been fixed up by a modder, Mr. Soul, and I'll have that linked in the description below just in case you might want it, because it's kind of noticeable. But this issue has been here for a fair amount of time, and I don't know how long Creative Assembly is going to take to fix it. It's not the only issue. There's clearly really big ones like pathfinding and so on. Why are those not getting tackled? And if they are, why is there no conversation about it? It's fairly noticeable now that the gate bug is no longer a bug and it's just a feature, but there are a lot of issues when it comes to fighting on the walls and in general just a lot of issues revolving around sieges. They're better now, much better now, but still, just because it's better doesn't mean it's done, it's perfect. Next is still communication, but more so what the people actually want to see. For the future of this game, and pretty much any other future Total War title, Creative Assembly need to start listening to the community. And this isn't, no, we're listening, we've changed, we promised, but more so having open discussions with the community as to what they feel needs to be reworked in the future, added in the future, or just in general what needs to be done. There's a very obvious hole here where Norska still feels like crap, and that's obviously something that nobody wants to see. We don't even know if Norska is ever going to get a rework, because right now we don't know how long is left of this game, we don't know anything at this point, which, yes, they don't have to tell us everything, but there definitely needs to be more communication regarding the future of this title to the community, because the community are the ones who actually decide this game lives or dies. They want to buy stuff, they want to buy DLC. They're just worried, especially with the recent leaks, that we're going to go back to another Shadows of Change situation. Those leaks could be proven false, but it's more of the case that the genuine fear is still there. Many people have echoed this in the past, and I echo these sentiments, that it would be nice if we had more communications online with that of Paradox with the Stellaris game. Not just the Custodian team, don't get me wrong, the Custodian team is desperately needed, but their comms are generally much better, which is why that game does well. It's the same reason why, say for example, Hearts of Iron, which is from like, what, 2016 or something, does so well in terms of player numbers. While I don't think it's going to change much in the direction for where Creative Assembly might have planned for Warhammer 3, I'm looking towards the future, because if this Total War 40k game does happen and we get the same mistakes, it's going to be problematic. CA will likely end up dying out, because 40k fans are much more vocal than the fantasy crowd, believe me. The last topic is something that we've talked about fairly often, but needs to be done in a more structured way. This is the separation of multiplayer and single player. It needs to be 2 separate builds. Now, I know some people are thinking, well, that's a lot of work and so on, but there's loads of rumors that Sophia will be taking over Total War Warhammer 3, and it seems that they're very capable, given all the recent news for Total War Pharaoh, which, let's be honest, hasn't made that much money, but they're very capable in getting stuff done. But why does this need to happen? Well, simply enough, it's because a lot of work gets thrown into both, and one ends up getting more work than the other. 99% of my time on Total War is focused around single player. I honestly don't care that much about multiplayer, because I do feel like if they wanted me to try multiplayer, they wouldn't have ham-fisted these weird control points, which was something that they did back in Rome 2, I believe, and then they removed because people didn't like. There was an obvious push to try and turn this into an esport, which is why I wasn't too interested, but I know a lot of other people and some other creators who are very interested in multiplayer, and they make a living out of it, they enjoy it, whatever, you know. It's very obvious that there is still a demand for it. But the big issue here is when something gets nerfed nerfed because of multiplayer, it also gets nerfed in campaign. The perfect example of this were the Heartseekers, a very, very cool unit, which unfortunately, due to some changes in multiplayer, kind of made them a little bit less worth it. They're still good, don't get me wrong, but the thing is, yeah, campaign had to suffer because of multiplayer. And the same thing actually happens for multiplayer suffering because of campaign. It's a separation that should have been always a thing when they were deciding, yeah, you know, we're going to start pushing this a little bit further. There's a very big divide when you start to see the patch notes, right? When 5.0 came out, it was very heavily focused on campaign, which meant that multiplayer didn't really get that much. But in previous patches, it was more focused on balance fixes than actual fixes to the campaign. And this is why I get so heated when it comes to a patch launch. Because, again, they should be separated. They should have their own dev time and be allowed to flourish in their own right and not at the expense of the other. It's something that they can do for Warhammer 3 to also test it for the future too, because if the rumors are true and we do end up getting a 40k Total War, a Star Wars Total War, My Little Pony Total War, fuck knows what else, yeah, this needs to happen. When it comes to these big sci-fi or other fantasy titles, there needs to be a separation to allow for each of the respective communities to grow in their own right. But these are just some ideas. You guys probably have some better ideas. Leave them in the comments below. I do apologize for lack of content recently. It should more or less be coming back to normal. I'm still trying to make sure that all my files are here because, as per usual, there's a panic making sure that, yeah, you know, NDAs are still there. I've got most of them in a drive and I've got most of them in a USB too. But the idea is, you know, just in case I left anything out. But have a great day, guys, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Hopefully we'll get some news soon because I'm starting to feel a little bit anxious about the silence. Yeah,